Welcome everyone to Après Midi with KJ and Tony. We have a big crowd here. I'm really excited to have everybody here. And let me introduce this lovely couple who fell in love with France when they visited about 10 years ago and have been back many times since, then to various other parts of France, including the south. They had never been to Paris until May 2022, which is when they decided to leave their high-stress jobs and 24/7 work lifestyle in the US and move somewhere in France. They spent the first year of their travel journey, maybe less, maybe more, to discover where in France they would like to settle as American expats. After all, there are so many incredibly beautiful areas in France. They wanted to experience as many different French regions and departments as possible before making a decision. I have a comment on that note. I talk with people every single day who say, I don't know where to go, so I've got this trip planned, and I'm going to go to here, and I'm going to go to there, and I'm going to go to here and there. When all they really need to do is talk to me. Because if they do, which is what KJ and Tony did not do, and why are they are here actually, is because I can pretty much help someone who's thinking about all those places organize an itinerary so that their itinerary makes sense and they can actually make a good decision. Because otherwise, you could travel all over France for the rest of your life and never figure out where. Okay, because it is a beautiful place to be, and everywhere you go, you will fall in love with it. And there are practical aspects. But anyway, I digress, okay? Their YouTube channel, which has become insanely popular, KJ and Tony moved to France, and their travel blog document the journey of giving up all their belongings in the USA to make our dream of living in France a reality. All of you did this, right? Almost all of you? Yes? Okay, on that note, here's what's going to happen. We are going to run one of their videos so that you can see what we're talking about before they speak. Okay, so we're going to do that. Hopefully I have a decent internet connection so that I can go ahead and run it. And I will give you your mic back.
Thank you.
And we'll get started.
Okay.
Okay, hold on. Here we go.
Like your side tables.
You have to get creative in the small space.
background sometimes, which is nice. It's entertaining. But not so much. So that's what
And you might think from some of the pictures that it's really loud down there, and it's not. In order to hear it, we really need to open the windows. And then at night, it dies down pretty quickly. It's not like we do a partying until really late at night. You're never disturbed at night. As a matter of fact, I think here, I don't know if it's a European thing, but the day gets started a lot later in the day, and it actually ends relatively early at 10 or 11. So we're loving it here so far, and we're very thankful that you joined us for our tour today, and we will continue to keep you updated as our adventure continues. So thanks for joining us. We wish you a very beautiful and blessed week ahead.
Okay, so we finally figured out that it's a towel rack. Yes, a towel dryer. It's not on this side.
Get rid of, you know what, I'm going to just turn it off because we don't need it.
Okay, good.
Should go off.
Or maybe not. Should be the blue button.
No, it's the on off. But I have another solution.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go.
When
Okay.
in doubt.
So before we go ahead and get started, I'd just like you to maybe humor me for a minute to, well, I have my microphone on.
No, but
Okay,
go back.
louder, okay. Just if you could bear with me for just a minute to a minute and a half. I would like to just take a moment or two to do a short meditation. And when I say short, I literally mean like 1 minute. So I'd like you to just close your eyes and bring your attention to your breath. I know that there are a lot of distracting noises. You're going to hear the cars in the street. You're going to hear the dishes downstairs. But what I'd like you to do in this very moment is to just really try to focus on your breath. Perhaps even putting your hand on your chest or your belly, wherever you feel the breath most strongly, coming in and out of your body. This is something that sustains our life. It's our life force. And we don't really spend a lot of time noticing our breath. So I'd just like you to notice it. Go with the flow of your breath in and out of your body. And then if you'd like, I'd like you to maybe think of something that you're grateful for today. I can tell you that I am grateful to be in the city that I love. I'm grateful to be here today with all of you and your support and so many other things. But just picking something that's truly meaningful to you and focusing on that little bit of gratitude. And now taking a nice deep breath in. And as you exhale, slowly opening your eyes and bringing your attention back to the room. And I did that because as someone who spends a lot of time doing, I'm a doer. I'm constantly doing. The YouTube channel being just one of those many things that I spend time doing. And I know that I and many people don't spend enough time just being. And really, it only takes a minute or two each day to connect with the breath and just allow yourself to be, just for a few moments. So thank you.
Okay, we thought we might start by explaining to you how we met Adrian. Some of you may know, and let me know if I'm not speaking loud enough. Okay, some of you may know how we met Adrian. It was very inauspicious, okay? So we were doing the YouTube channel, and we had gone back to the States because KJ got sick, and we got a call from the New York Post. Now, everybody knows what the New York Post is. We weren't naive about the fact that it is what it is, but we thought, what the hell, why not, right? Let's do it, and we'll go with the flow. So we did this interview with this guy who started the conversation by saying, my wife loves your channel, and she says, I have to interview you. So I did a little background on him, and he had written 11 exposés on all the most famous people, you know, Jackie Kennedy, all those people. He was the guy that wrote all those. So we knew that this was not going to be so great, but what we didn't know was that he was going to lie about every single thing that we said. So
Just about.
So he interviewed us and puts this article out that says, we didn't like Paris at all. We love Paris, favorite city in the world. Parisians treated us badly. We never said that. In fact, we said the opposite. And several other things like that. So somebody in Adrian's newsletter feed saw the article and apparently said something to you about it, right? You got it. And Adrian writes this scathing story about what idiots we are. I don't think you used that word, but
No, I didn't, but you're basically
so I thought, okay, none of it was true, and I'm not going to attack Adrian. She doesn't know that none of it was true. So I wrote what I thought was a pretty gracious email.
It was.
And I said, you know, this is what really happened. And that's what started the relationship. And one thing led to another, and now we've become friends, and she's helped us.
And you didn't mention that I redeemed you.
Yes.
She did redeem us, and maybe to some of you, that does not mean that we're not idiots, by the way. But anyway, so that's how we met. And do you want to talk about fostering resilience now?
Well, sure. And I just want to clarify that I think the word naive is a better word, in that we were certainly very naive when we first moved here. And we were just, you know, really excited and passionate about wanting to move to France. And we certainly didn't think through a lot of the decisions that we were making, because we had planned to actually move a year later than
Yeah, and
than
if I
we
could
moved.
stop you for a second. We came to Paris for a weekend from Florida. Who does that, right? You have to
People
be
that work too much do
you have to
that.
be either naive or idiots, one or the other, to do that. And that weekend, 24 hours into that weekend, I turned to KJ and said, why don't we retire to Paris? And she turned to me and said, yeah, let's do it. That's how this all got started.
Right.
So go ahead.
And it was going to be a year later. And then we kept moving the date up and moving the date up, because our work situation was really becoming a lot more difficult with changes that were going on within that treatment center. I don't know if you are aware, but our history, what we do for a living, we have PhDs in counselor education, and I'm a licensed mental health counselor. Tony is a certified addiction professional, and we've dedicated our careers to helping people recover from substance use disorders and their family members. So I've spent about 13 years. Tony has been in the field 20 years. And I think that this is relative, because it really is about how this all evolved. Because I have another YouTube channel, which I'm not sure if you're aware of, but it's a channel called Fostering Resilience. And I began that channel back in 2018. And I started that channel because it was a passion project, more so than any anticipation of it like making money or anything like that. I started it because I wanted to help individuals and family members gain access to materials and information relative to recovery, because I know that when I was going through my own issues, and I'm just, you'll know I'm a person that just lays it all right out on the table, very un-French-like. But Tony and I both have a history with substance use disorders. My son developed a very severe addiction to OxyContin. Ultimately, that transferred to heroin, and that began when he was 14 years old. And it persisted for about 5 years that were the 5 most difficult years of my entire life. And during that time, the way that I was a single mother at the time, and the way that I was dealing with that situation was to drink a whole lot more than I had been. And so that resulted in eventually getting a DUI. And at that time, when that happened, I realized how crazy it was for me to be dealing with his addiction in the way that I was choosing to deal with it. And I realized that if he was going to have any chance of recovery, then I needed to set the example for him. And that meant that I needed to give up everything, all of my vices. So I did that, and a year and a half later, he got sober for the first time. And I remember when and I say the first time, he stayed clean and sober for about 7 years. And he recently went through, actually right before we left for France, he went through a relapse, a pretty bad one. But now he's sober again. He's doing better than he ever has done with his sobriety, and I couldn't be happier. But back to this really very significant period of my life, this transitional period where I was working before that, during that time, at a luxury resort, actually a chain of luxury resorts I worked for, in a pretty significant position, making a good salary, nothing that most people would choose to walk away from. But because of my son's recovery and my own recovery, I decided I wanted to dedicate my life to helping other people to achieve the same. And so I did that and completely changed careers, went back to school, got my master's degree, got my PhD, and went into the field of addiction recovery. And it's been hugely meaningful for me. And in 2018, that's when I sort of got this idea that I didn't have any resources when I was going through it as a family member and as myself individually, and I wanted people to have access to more information, so I started the YouTube channel. That YouTube channel took 18 months to become monetized. And again, that wasn't even really my goal. My goal was just to get the information out there, but I was consistently posting videos, I was helping people, I felt really good about it. So when we decided, or when Tony decided to retire, and I decided I'm going to leave, we both worked at the same treatment center, that I'm going to leave when he leaves, and I'm going to get to spend more time doing what I love, which is working on my YouTube channel. So as a part of that, when we made this decision to move to France, I thought, well, why not make some videos documenting our move? Maybe it could help some people who are going through maybe what we're going through. So we started to do that, and I started posting the videos on the Fostering Resilience channel. And it totally messed up the analytics completely, because people were like going to the channel and going, what is this? They're moving to France and there's this like addiction recovery. So then I created the separate channel, and it was really just a fun thing to do. It wasn't, like we were anticipating it. Certainly didn't anticipate it blowing up like it did. So that video that Adrian just showed you is the video when we moved here that blew the channel up, and we became monetized in 1 month. In 1 month, we had gained 10,000, or because we've lost since since then.
But
So
we
do you
had
want to?
about 9,500. But
Yeah.
when that hit, we weren't looking to have a business, right? It hit, and all of a sudden we're getting all this input from advertisers who want to give us sneakers, wanted to give us luggage, wanted to give us sheets, anything you can think of. Just mention us in your video. And of course, we don't have a clue what we're doing.
Well, in fostering resilience, nobody wanted to partner with me on fostering resilience. They were like, it's not advertiser friendly. Mental health is not advertiser friendly. So this was all new. It was like, oh, these people want to work with us.
So you might remember that Adrian mentioned we were going to different parts of France. At this time, we're moving to Versailles for 2 months. And our son, our youngest son, who was away at college in San Francisco, was coming for winter break. So we're in Versailles for 2 months. We're experiencing winter for the first time in 25 years because we're from Florida. And so we have this pressure of get the videos out, get the videos out, get the videos twice a week.
Self-imposed pressure, by the way.
We're supposed to be retired. And by the way, you guys know it. She does all the work. I'm just a pretty face. I know you knew that part. But she does all the work, so the pressure's all on her. She physically starts to get sick and starts to physically break down. So we're in Paris, we're in Versailles, and now we have Nice and Saint-Tropez next. And the day before we go to Nice, she broke down completely. And at the time, neither one of us spoke hardly any French. We're a little better now. Yes, we have been taking lessons. And so she went home to be taken care of by American doctors. We had already paid for Nice. We had already paid for Saint-Tropez, so I went to Nice and eventually went back to the U.S.
And I made him go to Nice, by the way. He did not want to go to Nice. But there were logistical issues with having to go to Nice for a period of time.
So that's how the whole thing kind of evolved. And here we have Fostering Resilience that has 30,000 subscribers, right? So it's a pretty big channel. And we have this other one that's got like 9,500 now, I think. And we're supposed to be retired. So what happened was KJ went to work once she got better, back at being a therapist. I had a private practice that I always kept via Zoom. Okay, because now since the pandemic, therapy online is a common thing. So I didn't lose a single patient when I went from the US to France. In fact, when I went back to the US, some of my patients said, no, I like Zoom better. Right? They could be sitting at home in their underwear.
Yeah.
So we kept going, and then we started planning to go to Nice, and that's when we actually met you face to face. So, but one of the things I wanted to talk about, because you brought it up, was how we got to love France so much. So you can see and hear that I'm married very well, right? But KJ's parents had this kind of policy in the family. The one time they'll take you on a cruise anywhere in the world you want.
A trip. We chose cruise.
Okay, so they like to go on cruises. So we went on a cruise that started in Monte Carlo and went to Marseille and ended in Barcelona, but we stopped in Saint-Tropez. And in Saint-Tropez, we both fell in love with France. We both said, wow, wouldn't it be great to be able to retire here? And neither one of us thought we'd ever be able to afford to do it, but we did. So we would go on cruises every couple of years and always hit Saint-Tropez, always hit Marseille, always hit Monte Carlo. And then how this all came about was that weekend that I talked about a minute ago is we had a cruise planned, but we're so busy at the job that we had to cancel the cruise. And on a whim, I said, let's go to Paris for the weekend. And that's how we got here.
Yeah. And the what do you call it? The jet lag was not fun. Coming to France for the weekend.
Right. So along the way, we've put out a lot of videos on how to get a visa, right? The things that you have to think about coming here. And we did that just based on completely on our own experiences, because we get lots of questions of what did you go through with the visa process, and the rules seem to change all the time, and they even change depending on who you're talking to in a given moment.
Yeah.
And you know, we went through that whole process, and here we are. But
Still not knowing what we're doing.
still not knowing what we're doing, but having kind of come to a conclusion of where we want to live,
Yeah.
right? So
And we met Adrian. I feel like this, I said to her earlier, I feel like this whole purpose was so that we could meet you and you could help us.
So when we were in June, we were in Nice and had dinner with Adrian, and she said, you know, the best thing to do is buy a home in Nice and rent in Paris and have the home in Nice pay for Paris. That's what we're going to do. So next fall, we're going to buy a place here. In the meantime,
Here, meaning me.
here meaning Nice, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, and rent in Paris. But in the meantime, we're changing our focus somewhat relative to KJ and Tony moved to France. You want to talk about that?
Well, yeah. So there's an incredible amount of work that goes into creating the videos that I create. I had not created anything but educational videos until we started documenting our move to France. And when we started doing that, I don't know if any of you have seen the ones from the very, very beginning where we're just sitting on our couch in Florida talking about what we're experiencing, what we're doing, applying for our visas. And then that first video in France, I think that apartment video was the first video that I attempted to be sort of like vlog, like what you would call like vlog-like, of filming our experience. I had never done it before. And I really enjoyed it, yet when you're trying to produce videos multiple times a week or even once a week, it becomes a lot of work, especially on top of I'm working a full-time job at this point in, you know, doing the therapy online. And so we also have this startup that Tony and Tony's business partner Ram is here. He came to support us. That's Ram in the corner. And they're developing a platform that is specific for substance use disorders. So I don't know if you've ever heard of a company called BetterHelp, which is the company that I work for, which provides online therapy for anyone and everyone in terms of anxiety, depression, you know, whatever you're struggling with, you can hook up with a therapist. So their platform is going to be a platform that's very specific for substance use disorders for individuals and family members. And so that's getting ready to launch, and it's taking a lot of our time. So I know Adrian's like, they're going to be upset when you tell them this, but that we're cutting back the production of the KJ and Tony Move to France videos to probably about once a month, more than once a week. Yet, you know, going back to when my son recovered, and I have a very strong belief in a God of my understanding, and I'm not here to, like, you know, impress that upon you, or everybody has a right to believe what they believe. But when my son recovered, I was so grateful to God that I promised God that I would dedicate the rest of my life to helping other people recover, and that's what I need to continue to do.
So we're hoping January 1st to start this platform. In the United States alone, there's 40+ million people, according to the government, that either are in treatment or should be in treatment. Okay, and there's nothing currently for them to do. If they go to treatment, they just fail, and they go to treatment again and again and again and again. We have a new method of doing it that I personally have used with my clients very successfully. Now we're going to scale it. Okay, BetterHelp has 25,000 therapists alone. If we have 10% of that, we'll be very happy. All right, so that's what we're working on.
And
The fact that it can be done worldwide makes the 40+ million minuscule, right? And also we can do it from anywhere. Ram lives in Chamonix, near Mont Blanc. We live in Florida right now, but we're going to be in France. It doesn't matter where we are. So we're looking forward to that, and that's really the reason why KJ actually is going to be our chief clinical officer, and
And I just want to say, you know, I truly believe that if I asked every single one of you if you know someone who has struggled with a substance use disorder, whether that be a family member, a friend, a work colleague, that I guarantee each and every one of you knows someone who has struggled. And so I just, you know, I think that this is, whenever we have an opportunity like this where we're in front of a group of people, I think that it's very important to share that information with people, because if we, you know, just plant that seed in one person's brain that there's going to be this, I work with so many people right now who are constantly saying to me, you know, Dr. Foster, my husband, my son, I don't know what to do. We don't know where to go. We don't know how to gain access to, you know, to therapy without going away to treatment. And to have some place that's just online, easily accessible, you can jump right on and connect with a therapist and start treatment at home right away, is something that I think is going to be pretty phenomenal. So, sorry to like disappoint on the one hand, but I'm very grateful to be able to be here and to share this information with you.
so that's kind of it. So we're happy to answer any questions for you.
Substance abuse, when it happens for all of us, there's an emptiness that's asking to be filled.
Right.
You were talking about why your YouTube video for coming to France was so popular. It's filling something, some core need that people have. Do you think the need to watch the video of you coming to France might have some kind of relationship to the existential emptiness that we all feel, and how does that tie together with the work that you're doing with the platform you're getting ready to launch in January?
Yeah, I think that it absolutely is filling that need and that void. And I don't know, you know, how Tony feels about this, and I'll, you know, you can share after, but I believe very strongly that everything is connected, you know, and I've been able to look back on my own experience and see how the things that seemingly were like the worst things that had ever happened in my life led to the greatest joys, and how everything is very inexplicably connected somehow. And so I think that these videos are somehow connected to this sort of, you know, path that we're on now to provide what we're providing, if that makes sense.
Well, and actually a video was how we met Ram.
Yeah.
Ram responded to a video and wanted to talk to KJ, and she was too busy making videos. So I responded to him, and here we are, right? We became friendly, started talking about business. Ram's background is not unlike ours. By the way, I'll be sober 21 years on Sunday. And mine was a near-death experience. And so we got to talking, and more and more and more, and we came up with this idea. And we think its time has come. I do think everything is connected. I do think everything is connected. Because,
That's the God part.
yes.
The magic dust
Yeah.
of the divinity.
Yeah.
Well, and I'm glad you brought that up, because to me that hole is replaced by God. That's my feeling. So. Other questions? Thoughts?
I have one.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just curious. Have you looked at the differences in attitudes towards mental illness in France versus America, where it's still treated as a second class
Yeah.
condition, and especially the government's role in providing services?
By the way, today is World Mental Health Day. Today. Today. So as we start this platform, we're primarily looking at the United States, just because the need is so. 600,000 people died of overdose last year in the United States. Okay, so the need is so big there. But you know, Ram comes from from the Middle East, where there are countries there that have the problem, but there's no treatment centers because there's no addiction. It doesn't exist, but it really does. And so we think it's going to be, an all-encompassing type of thing. We had a question here first, so I'll come right back to you, okay?
Well, I don't really have a question, but I do applaud you for doing this because of the great need, particularly in the U.S. So many homeless, so many overdose victims of fentanyl. It's like we're at a very critical place, extremely critical. You may be thinking you're taking oxycodone or heroin or cocaine or even a pill that's a pharmaceutical pill. And it's not.
Right.
It's fentanyl.
Right.
It's killing people right and left.
Right. Go ahead.
Back to moving to French.
Yes.
Would you mind telling us perhaps if you made any mistakes, and if you did, what were they?
How much time do you have?
Oh my goodness. We made so many mistakes.
Thank you for asking that question, Talia.
Yeah.
So,
So many
do you want to go, or do you want me
No,
to?
you go ahead.
Well, certainly making the decision on a whim like that could have been done better. Ultimately it was the right decision. We love it here. But we also kind of flew by the seat of our pants the whole time, right? I've moved a lot in my life. So the adjustment for me, I never considered it really because, and I didn't feel it that much. KJ had lived in Florida for 35 years. So the change for her was pretty dramatic. So we didn't, that was something wasn't well thought through. But we should have taken French lessons sooner, as an example. Now, I have to tell you, I've been treated wonderfully by French people. Nobody's ever been a problem because I know that I'm speaking English, which isn't a language that's theirs. I know how I feel when I'm in America and someone doesn't speak English. So I try to be gracious with them, and I've been treated great. So I think we could have learned to speak French both sooner and more than we have to this point.
Well, and I think that a big mistake that we made was this plan to move from place to place every 3 months, and which turned out the first month, because our son came to visit, 1 month to then 2 months to then three. All of that moving around affected me in particularly a lot, to be moving from place to place and not feeling like rooted anywhere. So I think if we were to go back and do it differently, we would commit to like just Paris for a year, or spending a significant period of time in one place rather than just this hopping around all over the place. Some people love that. Some people love that sort of like nomadic life. But for someone like myself, who's used to living in the same town in the same place for years, I thought that was going to be exciting and adventurous and wonderful. But the reality of that was far different than sort of my fantasy. And I think that's something for people to really consider, is like the reality versus the fantasy of what it's going to feel like.
I want to follow up on that and ask Adrian and you to comment, but when we bought our apartment many years ago, one of the most interesting things was the rules about what the French have to leave in an apartment and what they don't have to leave in an apartment. And I don't know whether you experienced that, but they can take everything, including the light fixture.
Yeah.
And so I wonder, from a practical point of view, it's quite a difference.
I've spent a lot of time in Italy, and in Italy, when you buy a place, half of what you expect to be there is not there, right? Cabinets might be gone, kitchen cabinets, certainly appliances. In the U.S. you buy a place that's got a refrigerator, stove, but in Italy, even kitchen cabinets are gone. So I was pretty attuned to that, but we haven't experienced that.
You're talking about a purchase. which
Yes.
they have not done.
Right.
Right.
I'm talking about a purchase.
Right.
When you rent,
But maybe you could just,
Right.
we had to
Well-
put in a whole kitchen and light fixtures.
Right.
And
unless you specifically identify it
Yeah.
in the purchase.
In France, you
It could be
buy
taken.
as is. The
Right.
seller has no obligation to do anything whatsoever, and if it's not documented in the acte de vente or in the pre-sale agreement in the acte de vente, then they can take absolutely everything that's there. But, okay, but if you have someone working on your behalf, then you do
Correct.
have due diligence.
That
And
is
then
correct.
you protect it.
But it's a big difference
Yeah.
if you're unaware of it.
I have a question. You said that a lot of the things that you put into the article weren't true.
Yes.
And the one thing that struck me when I first read about you, and I don't remember, I didn't see the article itself, but it may have been quoting the article, was the fact that you didn't know that you weren't going to have an elevator in your building. Is that, I'm curious
Yeah.
if that's true, and
Yeah.
if you knew anything about Parisian buildings, or if you knew people who
Yeah,
lived
yeah.
here or anything.
Well, we had been to Paris multiple times before then and always had an elevator in old Parisian buildings. So it did not occur to me that there wouldn't be an elevator because every other place that I had booked, whether it was an Airbnb or a hotel, had an elevator. So it was a surprise to me that there wasn't an elevator.
And to be honest, it became a pleasant surprise. After 3 or 4 days, we were talking about it at lunch. It became like, okay, so what? That's how, I'm clearly not in shape, but I was in better shape when I was walking up and down 4 flights of stairs, right?
I've tried being on the 7th floor and the elevator breaks.
Right.
Yeah.
Regularly.
Right.
Yeah. And we have
That
one.
was on the list of mistakes.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you
right. Exactly. And we have an elevator now that is similar to ones we've seen on your House Hunters International, where we get in the elevator and both of us can barely just fit into the elevator.
And
It's-
how many people does it say it can fit?
Yeah, it says
It
4.
says 3 or 4.
Yeah.
It says 4.
And we're like, no one else can fit in here.
Yesterday we bought a new bag, a new luggage piece, and we struggled to get
It
an
in the
empty piece of
elevator.
luggage with the 2 of us in the elevator.
Because it's so small.
Go ahead.
It's a light question. I watched your video a couple weeks ago about all the lovely clothes and you look very nice today.
Oh, thank you.
And as I was watching,
You meant me, right?
sorry, Tony. And all the boots and all the shoes,
Mm-hmm.
and the first thought I had was, how much luggage do you bring? I mean, this is a short trip for you, I think. So
Yeah.
how
No,
do you-
one luggage.
Just one?
Yeah.
Really, I'm impressed.
But one for her.
Right.
But we're
Right,
going
yeah.
back with more. We never come to
Which is
Paris.
why we purchased the luggage.
We never come to Paris and leave with the same amount of luggage, ever.
I remember those days.
Actually, when we came permanently last November, I think we had 6 big bags.
And who had the majority of the luggage?
You did.
No,
I probably shouldn't have brought that up, huh?
no, you had
Go
more
ahead.
than I
So
did.
how long do you stay in Paris now? And do you still have your permanent residence in Boca Raton? And would you come back to the same area of Paris again?
We're here for 2 weeks this time. We're going to Lyon and the southeastern France in February. And then next spring we plan on coming back to to Paris. And then after that it's going to be Nice and going back and forth between Nice and Paris. And we're going to come for 2 to 3 weeks each time. We still
Until
have a
we
home.
buy, which will probably be next fall.
And we're probably going to keep our home in Florida even when we move here for a couple of reasons. One, it's easier visa-wise, okay. But secondly, our youngest son still needs a place to live, and he's old. He's old enough, but
He's 27, but we're still trying to launch. We're still trying to.
well, like this.
So we have a little ways to go. with that. So we have to.
Just one other
Say.
question. Did you ever get any kind of a retraction or apology or ask for it from the New York
Didn't
Post?
ask for it.
No, I did send him an email though, and his response saying, you know, that basically everything that he printed was not what we had said, and his response was, but look at all the comments and look at all the subscribers you're getting. Oh, don't worry about it. You know, he very much just like glossed it over, and that was the last.
Donald Trump method.
Right, exactly.
That's exactly what it was. Go ahead.
Exactly.
Did you have to do anything special with the internet for any of your work?
No, the hotel we're in not right now has terrible internet,
internet.
but
yeah.
generally we've had no problem with the internet.
I have a question. When you said your Paris website or YouTube videos are monetized, are you talking about affiliate marketing or?
No,
No.
although that too, but what we're talking about where YouTube pays us.
Oh,
Advertisers.
YouTube cuts in like an 11. This video that showed today, if Adrian did not have a paid subscription to YouTube, she would have commercials in it. It would stop it. We'd get paid for that, and it usually takes 1.5 to 2 years. And actually, it was 28 days on that channel that we were monetized,
so if you did affiliate marketing on your YouTube
which we have.
and people from France clicked and bought things and then you were receiving money, would that be a problem with, working here?
I don't think so, because our company is US based, and so there's no way of really tracking whether the purchase was made by someone from France or whether that's an American, or I'm sure like the company somehow tracks that, but in terms of like the YouTube channel itself, it's US based, our companies are US based, we
Our
get paid
bank
in
is
a US
US
bank
bank.
account.
They are not tax resident in France yet.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
will not be tax resident in France until they've lived here 183 days or more.
And that's
And then, and you and I are going to talk about that. Okay?
Yeah.
How to set yourself up so that you're to manage your taxes on both sides.
Right.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So, is Adrian, I know Adrian, you're looking for an apartment for yourself, a new place in you.
I am.
Are you also looking for an apartment for Tony and Adrian?
I hope
She will be.
But she hasn't started yet.
No, not yet.
We just told her today that that's what we wanted
Yeah.
to do.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Yeah, we love Nice too.
Yeah.
How do you see your business with substance abuse fitting into France, or do you? Are you going to completely retire and give that up? You're not. You're going to continue
No.
your YouTube channel,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But just not heavily focused on it. We're going to be much more working in the substance abuse area.
But can you then scale that so that it includes France and Europe, for example?
Oh,
So
we-
it's not
Yeah.
just
We're absolutely
Oh,
doing
yeah,
that
yeah.
for sure. Yeah,
Definitely.
Yeah. That's part of why we're doing it.
Would you anticipate only online, or would you maybe
Oh.
have certain centers?
Only online.
Only online. Yeah.
In
Which
the
makes
US
it much more worldwide
In
accessible.
the U.S., it's already been proven that centers don't work. So, go ahead.
You mentioned that you're keeping your house in Florida for visa reasons. Would you mind kind of expanding on that a little bit? I'm not sure I understand.
Well, we originally got a long stay visa, and then we kind of violated it. Not real. That's not the right word, but we went home early, didn't stay for the year. So rather than having to go through that process all over again, we're just going to go back and forth when,
For the time being, until it becomes necessary
until, as Adrian says, we're here 163 days.
to 80.
Yeah.
Is your
83.
long-term plan, even once you buy a house in Nice and have an apartment here, to keep that house?
That's going to depend. Because
couple of things.
yeah,
I'm
our
thinking the same way.
yeah.
That's the reason I'm picking it.
Well,
our
we-
sons, my parents.
And by the way, somebody brought up the whole fairy dust or God or whatever. When we went back to the U.S. and moved into the same town that KJ's parents live,
Vero Beach.
Vero Beach.
Yeah, so we went from Boca to Vero Beach.
which her parents are 86 and 88, I believe.
This month. Oh, it's Adrian's birthday on the 12th, Saturday, right? 14th. Oh, it's the same as. It's the same as.
I have to talk about this.
Oh, it's because it's the same as my mom's birthday. That's
Oh.
it's the
And-
same as my mom's.
Anyway, we moved into this new house, and like 3 days later, KJ's father had a stroke. Okay, so it was like it was meant to be that we were there, because her mother's not really fully capable of helping him, and so we were there, and our son was there, and so it was good that we had made that decision.
Yeah.
So.
It's a good idea to keep an address in the U.S. just for, okay, not necessarily a property, but an address with a friend or relative, so that you can maintain your bank accounts, your credit cards. If the government sends you a relief fund check, it's got to go somewhere.
Yeah.
Retain your right to vote.
Yes.
Exactly, so you still have voter rights. So you really, even if you don't keep an abode, you know, in the U.S., you really want to have at least some sort of an official address.
Well, and actually, UPS stores and places like that, you can use their address for that very purpose. We did that at the mailboxes, etc., when we came here a year ago, and the box was just like our apartment number. So.
I may not know the answer to this, but if you have a business registered in the United States, but you do therapy online in France, and you bill for it, that visit, does France do that as income in France? Or is
Okay,
it
this is-
strictly part of
Yeah.
This
the
is a
U.S.?
complicated question.
Yeah.
Okay, it has to do with tax residency, and it has to do with the kind of company you have set up, and how you. But you, once you are tax resident in France, you have to report your income from the U.S. in France, and on the U.S. return, you have to report any income you have in France. But there is a tax treaty between the U.S. and France, so you never pay tax on the same money twice. And I have all the financial professionals you need to help you organize this.
Yeah.
And you mentioned the word bill. We don't bill at all. It's all by subscription. Okay, so they're
Oh,
paying
you're
us.
not what you're doing now. You're talking
No.
about the company.
Yeah, that's what he was asking about the company.
But oh.
Yeah.
But I get, okay. So they do a subscription of the American company.
Yes,
Yeah, yeah.
And
exactly.
there's no billing done in
Right.
this.
Not at all.
The company is based in the U.S.
And I understand what
But
you
if
said.
okay, but if
If you're a registered tax,
yes, but if it's a company, a U.S. company, then France has nothing to do with that.
correct.
The only thing that they would be liable for reporting is any income or salary or dividends they were to take out of the company.
But if you're not a tax resident of
Then you don't
France,
have to think about it.
then you do not have to report any
Anything at
income.
all. Nope.
Okay.
A lot of people live less than 6 months a year in France for that very reason.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. But I don't think money is a good reason to make that kind of decision, personally. Let's put it that way.
Well, I've found money is rarely a good reason to make any decision.
decision, yeah.
Exactly. Thank you. That's right. Money is not a good reason to make decisions.
Right.
Well, can I just say, because once a month is not really enough, and you're a cute couple. We love the rapport between you two and the way you play off each other. We're going to miss seeing you as often as we did in the past, but we're glad you're keeping the channel alive.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very much. That's very kind.
Yeah. We'll do the best we can.
You may feel compelled to do 1 or 2 extras as you go through the cultural clashes, because that's really, you might not realize it, but your biggest hurdles are not the hurdles. It's the cultural clashes that you're
Right.
experiencing.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.